from each according to his ability, to each according to his needs. Religion is the opium of the people. The history of all hitherto existing society is the history of class struggles. True freedom is the emancipation of the masses from their inherited poverty. Political power, properly so called, is merely the organized power of one class for oppressing another. Religion is the opium of the masses. The production of too many useful things results in too many useless people. The philosophers have only interpreted the world in various ways. The point is to change it. Capital is dead labor, which, vampire-like, lives only by sucking living labor, and lives the more labor it sucks. From each according to his abilities, to each according to his needs. Let the ruling classes tremble at a communistic revolution. The proletarians have nothing to lose but their chains. They have a world to win. The history of all previous societies has been the history of class struggles. The theory of communism may be summed up in one sentence: abolish all private property. The ideas of the ruling class are, in every epoch, the ruling ideas, i.e., the class which is the ruling material force of society, is at the same time its ruling intellectual force. Workers of the world, unite. You have nothing to lose but your chains. The oppressed are allowed once every few years to decide which particular representatives of the oppressing class are to represent and repress them in Parliament. The theory of the communist may be summed up in the single sentence: abolition of private property. The education of all children, from the moment that they can get along without a mother's care, shall be in state institutions. The weapon of criticism cannot, of course, replace criticism by weapons. Material force must be overthrown by material force, but theory also becomes a material force as soon as it has gripped the masses. The tradition of all dead generations weighs like a nightmare on the brains of the living. The proletarians have nothing to lose but their chains. They have a world to win. Workers of all countries, unite. Reason has always existed, but not always in a reasonable form. The first requisite for the happiness of the people is the abolition of religion. Men make their own history, but they do not make it as they please. They do not make it under self-selected circumstances, but under circumstances existing already, given and transmitted from the past. The human being is in the most literal sense a political animal, not merely a gregarious animal, but an animal which can individuate itself only in the midst of society. Social progress can be measured by the social position of the female sex. Necessity is blind until it becomes conscious. Freedom is the consciousness of necessity. History repeats itself First is tragedy. Second is farce. Philosophy stands in the same relation to the study of the actual world as masturbation to sexual love. Let us not, however, flatter ourselves overmuch on account of our human victories over nature, for each such victory nature takes its revenge on us. Men's ideas are the direct emanations of their material state. The more a ruling class is able to assimilate the foremost minds of a rule class, the more stable and dangerous becomes its rule. The state is the product and the manifestation of the irreconcilability of class antagonisms. Labor is, in the first place, a process in which both man and nature participate, and in which man of his own accord starts, regulates, and controls the material reactions between himself and nature. The bourgeoisie cannot exist without constantly revolutionizing the instruments of production, and thereby the relations of production, and with them the whole relations of society. Nothing can have value without being an object of utility. Society does not consist of individuals, but expresses the sum of interrelations, the relations within which these individuals stand. The ruling ideas of each age have ever been the ideas of its ruling class. The bureaucracy is a circle from which no one can escape. Its hierarchy is a hierarchy of knowledge. Religion is the sigh of the oppressed creature, the heart of a heartless world, and the soul of soulless conditions. It is the opium of the people. The rich will do anything for the poor but get off their backs. Experience praises the most happy the one who made the most people happy. The writer must earn money in order to be able to live and to write, but he must by no means live and write for the purpose of making money. The bourgeoisie has, through its exploitation of the world market, given a cosmopolitan character to production and consumption in every country. The ruling ideas are nothing more than the ideal expression of the dominant material relationships. The dominant material relationships grasped as ideas. The worker becomes all the poorer the more wealth he produces, the more his production increases in power and extent. The country that is more developed industrially only shows to the less developed the image of its own future. The worker of the world has nothing to lose but their chains. Workers of the world unite. The more the division of labor and the application of machinery extend, the more does competition extend among the workers, the more do their wages shrink together. The only antidote to mental suffering is physical pain. The bourgeoisie has stripped of its halo every occupation hitherto honored, and looked up to with reverent awe. It has converted the physician, the lawyer, the priest, the poet, the man of science, into its paid wage laborers. History calls those men the greatest, who have ennobled themselves by working for the common good. Experience acclaims as happiest the man who is made the greatest number of people happy. The class struggle necessarily leads to the dictatorship of the proletariat. The working class is not a minority, but a vast majority, and their historic mission is to overthrow the system of exploitation and oppression of the majority by the minority. The abolition of religion as the illusory happiness of the people is the demand for their real happiness. The first step in the revolution by the working class is to raise the proletariat to the position of ruling class, to win the battle of democracy.